Okay, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make some Middle Eastern style stuff. So the first thing we're going to make is the pittas for our pitta and shawarma. So these are the ingredients you're going to need. In this bowl there is 500 grams of sifted flour, 10 grams of sugar and 10 grams of salt. What I've done, I've sifted them and I've mixed it, and what I've done is taken 3 tablespoons and kept it to the side for later. You'll also need 180 grams of Greek yogurt. You'll need 170 mils of warm water, and also 8 grams of instant yeast, that's the dried stuff. And what you need to do is take 2 to 3 tablespoons just to activate the yeast. Okay, so we're going to make pittas now. If you look at your yeast, it should have gone watery like that. Little bubbles, that's fine. So what we're going to do first is we're going to add the water, the yogurt, and the yeast. And what's just slightly swirl the yeast into the yogurt, like so. Give that a couple of seconds. Then what we're going to slowly get our hands in, hence the gloves, and start to let it form. It'll be quite wet and sticky at first, hence what the excess flour is for, to get our right consistency. At this point you just have to bring it in. No need to knead at the moment, so it forms. And then you can start working. I can tell already it's quite sticky, so I'm going to add a little bit of flour at first. And then we'll keep kneading it. And what you're going to do, you're just going to keep kneading it. If you need a little touch more flour, you'll know, because it will be quite sticky. Once you've got the preferred texture, which is just coming away from your hands, then just knead it for a couple of minutes. Okay, so a couple of minutes should have passed and you should have kneaded your dough by now. And if you look at mine, if you touch it, it should spring back slightly. It's not so sticky, so it should be clean. And all we're going to do with this is just lift up the dough, whack a little bit of olive oil, I'd say like a teaspoon. All you're going to do is just literally grease your bowl, the bottom of it first, wet that on top, then you can grease the sides. And all this is going to do is stop the dough from sticking whilst it's proving, and you want to lightly grease the top. You're going to cover it with a clean tea towel and leave it for 1 hour, and then we'll come back to it. So an hour should have passed and your dough should look something like that. Quite well risen. What we're going to do, we're just going to knock it back in. Just give it a little knead. Shouldn't be sticky. What we're going to do, take it out. We need to divide it. So I'm going to aim for 12 pittas. I don't want to make them too big, so cut it in half. And in half again. And just shape these into just an even sausage. And then we want to cut into 3. Don't worry if they're not perfect, as this won't affect the cooking process. Okay, so what we need to do is ball them. So get them in between your hands until they form nice balls like that. Right, so we balled them, so all we're going to now do is just literally tuck it all in like this. So pinch the bottoms so you form a really nice clean sort of ball. So everything's at the bottom like that. So got a nice little ball there. And what I've done here, I've just put a bit of grease proof and I've just lightly floured it. So once you've got them, just literally do that. And I'm going to go and continue to do the rest of them. So literally tuck it all in, fold it into itself, shouldn't take too long, again like that. And keep going until all of them are done. All the rolls should have been rolled out now. They've been lightly floured again, and what I've done, I've just put a bit of a loose cling film on the top of them, and we'll need to let them prove for another 30 minutes. Right, so half an hour should have passed and they should have proved and risen slightly. So what we're going to do now, we're actually going to roll them into the shape that we want. So I've just put a bit of flour down on the board and I'm just going to sprinkle a little touch more on top, just in case they stick. And I'm going to roll them. I like round pitters, so I'm going to do them rounded, but you can do oval if you want. That's your preference, and you kind of want them to about, I would say, just thicker than a £1 coin. So if you look at the thickness there, no thinner than that. So what we're going to continue to do is roll out each of them until they're all flat like that, and then we're going to cook them. So you should now have all of your 12 pitters rolled out looking like this. And what we're going to need to do now is get a non-stick pan on a medium heat, and we need to leave it for about 2 minutes, and then we will cook the pitters. So our pan's been on for about 3 minutes and it's quite hot. So what we're going to do, we're going to get our first pitter in and we are going to put it down for 20 seconds. If you've got a timer or even your phone, you can use 20 seconds. And then we're going to flip it. Okay, so it's been 20 seconds, so I'm going to flip it. There is method behind the madness, and no colour will come up first, but you'll understand after. So again, we're going to wait another 20 seconds, and then we'll flip it again. Alright, another 20 seconds have passed, we're going to flip it again. This time, we're going to do it for another 20 seconds. And flip again. And now what we're going to do, we're going to wait for it, and it will start to inflate a bit like a balloon. It might take a little bit of time, but be patient. Usually one side will start to go. Can take up to about a minute. comes. You just start to be able to see it now. It will happen quite fast, like a balloon. And then once that's done, give it another 4 seconds. And we're just going to flip it just to colour the other side. And continue doing the rest. And once you've done the last one, they should look like this, nice and fluffy, really high, ready for putting together. Okay, for the chicken shawarma part, I've got here, these are boned and skinless chicken thighs. You get them from Tesco's or any supermarkets, or you can get them from the butcher. I would say between 10 and 12 is what I'm going to use for this recipe. What I like to do is just lightly trim any excess fat, which I don't really want in there. So you can do the same. It's just simple, just getting rid of all the white nasty parts that I don't like the look of. And then once I'm happy, also see if there's any veins, because they'll carry a bit of blood in them. And once you're happy with them, the chicken thighs, cut it in half and then lay them just like that. And then go through all of them until they're all clean, and then we'll go to the next step. Right, so all your chicken should be nice and cut and clean. What we're going to do is just going to splash a little bit of olive oil, not a lot, a couple of tablespoons if you want to be precise, not a great deal. Just going to moisten it slightly, that's it. And then get half a lemon and squeeze it in. If there's any pips, please remove. Okay, and to that, we've got our spice mix. So we've got 1/4 teaspoon of ground garlic. We've got 1/4 teaspoon of garam masala, or you can use allspice if you've got. 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, 3/4 teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of cayenne pepper, and we've also got 2 teaspoons of paprika and 2 teaspoons of cumin. And we're just going to add that to the mix. And again, gloves, and get in. Make sure you mix it all in. If it is feeling a tad dry, you can add a bit more olive oil. So I reckon I might add just a little touch more. Every piece should be coated and look like so. Now what we're going to do with that, we're going to refrigerate it. It can either be refrigerated for a minimum of 4 hours, or for the better results, overnight. So that's had about 3-4 hours marinating, and all I've done is simply put it on some foiled trays, space them out so they're not all on top of each other, and you're going to put them in a really hot oven, so around about 210 degrees. You can use a grill if you want, and you can also use the barbecue, which is much better, but I don't have a barbecue at the moment, so I'm going to stick it in the oven for roughly around 20 to 25 minutes, because we want to get it quite crisp. And the good thing about the chicken thighs is they retain moisture, hence why I've used chicken thighs, but you can also use chicken breasts if you want, and cook it for a little bit less. Right, so we're going to make some Turkish bulgur wheat to go with our shawarma and pita. So all I've done in here is dice up 1 very small onion and 1/4 of yellow pepper. Just sweat it up in a little bit of olive oil so it's nice and soft. And to that we are going to add 1 teaspoon of red pepper paste. This is a bit like tomato puree. You can get this in like continental greengrocers. If you can't get it, you can always use tomato puree. So once that has gone in, just let it cook out for a few seconds. medium-high heat. And we're going to add 100 grams of chopped tomatoes. Again, give that another stir. And then to that, we're going to add 120 grams of medium bulgur wheat. Now you want to lower the heat and mix it all together. And once it's been incorporated, we're going to add 220 ml of chicken stock. Make it yourself. You want it sort of not very strong, but it will give a nice flavour. Increase the heat slightly, and as soon as that comes to a bubble, in a second, lid on, lower the temp, and slowly simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes, checking every 5 or 6 minutes until the water is completely evaporated. Once all the water is absorbed, it should look like this, and if you leave it for 15 minutes with the lid on, it'll be perfect to eat then. Once they come out of the oven, they should look golden brown and sizzling, and all you're going to do is literally shred them up and they're ready to go. And there we go, guys. Your meal is complete. You've got your pittas, you've got your shawarma, and your bulgur wheat. And what I've served with it, I've served some mixed salad, some carrot sticks, and some hummus, and some spicy olives and lemon wedges. So give it a try, guys, and hopefully it will turn out like mine. Stay safe, and speak to you soon. Bye.